Hi, my name is Paul Sargent and welcome to AP Euro Bit by Bit. I'm going to start doing a few things here that are a little bit different from what I've been doing so far. If you've been watching AP Euro Bit by Bit, you'll see that I've been focusing largely on content, telling historical stories and trying to explain things to you. But lately, as we've gotten close to the AP exam, I've gotten a lot of questions from students about how to get ready for this thing. How do you study for the big exam? What's on the exam? And how can I make sure that I do well? Well, I'm going to try and explain that in the next few videos as best I can, and I know that a lot of us are a little bit uncertain at this point, but I'm going to try and give you some tips that might help and that might get you ready for the exam. So today we're going to take a look at what you can do to prepare for the AP Euro exam. Let's get started. Okay, so I honestly have to be totally serious with you here. There is no magic formula, okay? There's no key. It's not like you can just sort of like wake up one day and say, oh, hey, you know, if I do these 1, 2, 3 things, then all of a sudden everything's gonna fall into place and it's gonna be great. Well, it just doesn't happen that way. If it did, if I had the key, boy, I would sell it and I would be making a lot of money, but I don't, and there is no real substitute for hard work. That's just the reality of the whole thing. Some of you out there have been working your tails off all year, and you know this stuff, and now it's just a matter of fine-tuning. Some of you out there have been kind of doing an on and off job, and you're going to have a little bit more work ahead of you if you want to get a good score on the AP exam. But there are certainly some basic things that everyone can do in order to get ready for this thing. I break them down into 2 main categories. Number 1 is skills, and number 2 is content knowledge. Okay, so skills. Well, skills are a really important part of this because if you don't understand the skills that are required of you and you haven't honed the skills during the year, then it doesn't matter how much information you know, you're not going to be able to score well on the exam because you're not going to do the things that you need to do in order to score well on the exam. So what skills are we talking about? Well, obviously, if you look on the College Board site or if you look on my website, you can get a link to it here, you'll see that the historical thinking skills are laid out for you. They really divide into this. You need to be able to use sources. You need to be able to evaluate evidence. You need to be able to put things in historical perspective, and then you need to create an argument. And that's oversimplifying the entire process, but that's basically what it is. But more than that, your skills need to be an understanding of what is expected on any particular type of question. Now, there are 4 types of questions that you're going to come across on the AP Euro exam starting here in the spring of 2016. Number 1, multiple choice questions. These are going to work around some sort of a stimulus. There will be one stimulus, a picture, an excerpt, maybe a graph or a chart or a map or something like that. And after that, there will be 3, 4, or maybe even 5 questions that are multiple choice questions that go along with that and try and pull out your understanding of the information. In the next video, I'll talk a little bit about how to attack those questions. The second type of question that you'll then encounter are called the short answer questions. And these really are directed questions which aren't looking for some big grandiose explanation. They just want you to, well, answer the question. But they're not multiple choice, so the answer isn't right in front of you, and you kind of have to know what you're talking about for these. Type 3 is the document-based question. In this, you're going to be given a series of documents, 6 or 7 documents, and you're going to have to use those documents along with an understanding of European history and be able to construct an argument that is plausible and that responds to the prompt that you're given. And then finally, the long essay question. Now, here's the only place on the entire exam where you get a choice of which question to answer. I mean, I guess you technically have a choice on the rest of the exam. You could choose not to answer questions, but I would suggest that is a good way of passing. But here you really do have a choice, and you'll be given two questions. And typically they're going to be very similar questions dealing with different periods of history. And you get to decide which one you're better equipped to answer. And then you simply write an essay which addresses the prompt and brings in all the knowledge you have about that subject and about that time period and about that topic, directed exactly to answer the question. So that's kind of what you're going to run into. And each one of them requires different skills in order to answer them correctly. So don't worry, we'll go through those if you haven't already. And then the second big thing is, of course, content. And the question is, how much content do you need to know? Well, I would say this. You have to gauge where you are right now. If you're watching this and you have a very good understanding of European history, then you're going to have a pretty easy time with the content. You might want to brush up on some terms, you might want to look through things, but pretty much you're going to be fairly well set. If, however, you're not feeling so confident in yourself and your knowledge, then let me just say this. The most important thing about content in this exam is understanding like the big picture of what's going on. Understand trends, understand periods, understand the bigger context of how Europe has developed over the past 565 years, I guess is what we're looking at this point, and try to see where things are going to drop into. I always describe this as historical boxes. If you construct boxes in your mind and you can place things into those boxes, then that will really help you understand. This is what historians call periodization, and it's one of the historical thinking skills. I think this is probably the most important one to focus on if you are weak on content, because being able to do this will help you eliminate a lot of answers on the multiple choice. It will allow you to at least have an idea of what's going on in the essay questions. You can do something with it. The big thing is, though, don't sweat the details. Now, if you click the link here, you'll be taken to my website in which I've laid out for you the entire concept outline. Now, this is what the College Board has prescribed. They've said this is what can be on the AP exam. And if you look through it, you can almost use it as a checklist. Do I understand this? Am I able to explain this? Am I able to do all of these things? And when you run into something that you don't know, then look it up. But start with the big items, the big ideas, and worry about the smaller details later. And if you've got the big ideas and the smaller details, then worry about the examples. Because the examples won't explicitly be tested on the test. They'll just be, well, you can use them as an example to sort of back up what you're doing. So if you focus on skills and you focus on a general content knowledge, then you're going to be pretty well prepared. So I hope that kind of clears up maybe like the big picture of how to get ready for this. But, as I said in the beginning, you're not going to be able to substitute for hard work all throughout the year. But you can grab some easy points if you understand the skills and you understand the big picture. So, in the next video, I'm going to tackle the multiple choice section and talk about how you can approach that to maybe be more successful. So until then, my name's Paul Sargent, and this is AP Euro Bit by Bit, and it's review time. So let's get ready for this exam together. All right? Subscribe, stay tuned. I'll see you next time for the multiple choice. Take care.